Every weekend in car parks, festivals, and street corners across Australia, thousands of people are lining up for food that came out of the back of a truck. No rent, no landlord, no fixed address, just an engine, a kitchen, and a menu. It looks like the ultimate low-cost way into the food business. But underneath that simple pitch is a business with razor-thin margins, a permit system spread across dozens of different councils, and a break-even point that catches almost every new operator off guard. So how does a food truck actually make money in Australia? Let's break down the economics. A cafe or restaurant lease in a decent Australian suburb can run into six figures a year before you've cooked a single meal. A food truck sidesteps that entirely, taking the kitchen to wherever the customers already are. That flexibility is why the Australian mobile food market has grown into an estimated billion-dollar industry, with more than 5,000 registered mobile food businesses now trading nationwide. But no rent doesn't mean no overhead. It just moves the cost somewhere else. Let's start with the truck itself. A second-hand food truck in Australia can be picked up for under $50,000. A new, fully custom-built truck with a commercial-grade kitchen can run anywhere from $90,000 to $200,000. Add a kitchen fit-out if the truck doesn't already have one, and that's another $10,000 to $40,000. Put it all together: truck, fit-out, permits, insurance, opening stock, and a contingency buffer, and most Australian food truck launches cost somewhere between $70,000 and $130,000. Some no-frills setups get away with under $50,000. Premium builds can exceed $200,000. Industry advice consistently recommends holding back roughly a quarter of your total budget as contingency, because almost every first-time operator gets surprised by what comes next: the permits. Here's the part that catches almost everyone off guard. There is no such thing as a single food truck license in Australia. It's a patchwork of approvals, and the rules reset every time you cross a council boundary. You need food business registration with the council where your truck is based. You need a separate mobile trading permit from every additional council you want to trade in, and a permit in one municipality does not automatically let you trade in the next one over. You need a food safety supervisor certificate, compliance with the National Food Safety Standard, and vehicle fit-out approval covering fire safety, gas safety, waste disposal, and water systems. And if you want to trade at markets or festivals, that's a completely separate permit process again. Some of Australia's biggest cities also actively restrict where trucks can go. In Melbourne, for example, food trucks are barred from trading at high-traffic landmarks like Queen Victoria Market and Federation Square entirely. Even your power source is regulated, since noisy diesel generators are a common trigger for noise complaints and council restrictions. So the real strategic decision for a food truck owner isn't what to cook, it's which council areas will actually let you trade and how many separate permits you need to hold at once to have enough viable locations to survive. Once you're trading, the tax side is straightforward by comparison. You need an ABN before you can legitimately invoice or claim deductions. GST registration becomes compulsory once your turnover crosses $75,000 in any rolling 12-month period. Once registered, you charge 10% GST on sales, but you also claim back the GST you paid on the truck, equipment, and ingredients. If you hire staff, most food truck workers fall under the Fast Food Industry Award or the Hospitality Industry Award, meaning minimum pay rates and superannuation apply just like a restaurant. And the truck and equipment depreciate over time, which is a real tax deduction, but also real value you'll eventually need to replace out of your own pocket. Now the part that matters most: how much do food trucks actually make? Australian food trucks typically need to sell 60 to 100 meals a day at $10 to $15 just to break even. Annual revenue for an established truck commonly lands between $250,000 and $500,000. Sounds substantial until you look at the margin. Net profit margins in this industry typically sit at just 6 to 9%. The very best run operations can push into the 10 to 15% range. That's it. This is a high-volume, low-margin business. Run the numbers on a truck doing $350,000 a year at an 8% margin, and the owner is taking home around $28,000. Push that to $500,000 in revenue with a strong 12% margin, and you're closer to $60,000. That margin comes from menu engineering, since high-margin items like tacos and sandwiches outperform protein-heavy dishes, from location strategy, since the right pitch can double a week's revenue, and from tight labor control. Even when the numbers work, several risks make this business genuinely hard to sustain. Weather dependency means a rained-out weekend directly hits that week's revenue with no way to make it back. Competition is fierce, with over 5,000 operators fighting for the best locations and festival bookings. Permits are fragile, and one noise complaint or compliance breach can shut down a location overnight. Equipment breakdowns can cost you an entire day's trade with no backup, and at a 6 to 9% margin, there's very little room for error. So is a food truck actually the cheap and easy way into the food business? The barrier to entry is genuinely lower than a restaurant. You can be trading for well under $100,000 without a lease and without answering to one landlord. But you're not trading complexity for simplicity. You're trading rent for regulation. Instead of one landlord, you answer to every council you trade in. The businesses that actually make food trucks profitable in Australia aren't the ones with the best recipe. They're the ones that treat location strategy and council compliance as seriously as the menu itself.